Hey, and welcome to another IC82 opening video. This time I've got with me the Hornby Mixed Goods digital train set. It's not too big, it just about fits in shot. But what's quite special about this set is that not only do you get two locomotives, but it's DCC as well. So you get the Hornby Select DCC controller, which is an excellent entry-level DCC controller. They do a more advanced one called the Elite, and then of course various other manufacturers such as Gauge Master and Bachmann make their own as well. So that's all very well and good. Ooh, a little bit of a noise there. But this is an excellent entry-level DCC controller, and I do recommend it. This set was actually bought second-hand, so I didn't even pay the reduced price for it. I bought it off a friend who got into railways and then got out of railways again, quite bizarrely. Well, I bought it off a friend of a friend, so that's the story on that. But yes, you do get two locomotives. You get a British Rail Class 8 locomotive just there, and then a 3F little Ginty. A nice little Ginty, like what the LMS used to use. You get a single box van, a ore tipper, I think, well, an ore wagon of some sort. That's probably the tipper. And then you also get, you can't really see it, but you get a BP tanker on the back. You can see it more clearly if I show you the little graphic of the consist there. That's what that's called, by the way. That's a consist, where you've got multiple items grouped together. So yeah, you could double head them, or you could have just, you know, you could have just the Class 8, or you could have just the Ginty pulling them. I guess it's up to you, and that's what's quite special about this set. Well, it should be, we hope so. Apologies for just how bright and sunny it is. Hang on, why am I apologising for that? It's gorgeous. It's the first really nice day we've had so far in ages, so that's quite cool. Well, it's not cool, is it? Anyway, let's just open the set and see what we get. So, set open. There's your DCC controller, as you can tell. You've got some really nice third radius curves. You don't really get second radius curves now, which is good, unless the set's really old. Then you've got a point, well, a set of points, a turnout. You've got a really long piece of track, and then you get two short pieces of track and the power track piece. There are our locomotives. There are the wagons, a buffer, and the adapter for the DCC controller. The wire for the DCC controller should be, yeah, just underneath. Okay? So pretty much everything you need. The only thing that isn't here is a gigantic big pack of gumph, which I'm sure we're all familiar with, we've all seen, and you get in there track mat instructions, a warning about how to keep off the tracks, which is important. Okay, I've just moved the camera around so that I can get a better look at these locomotives. Let's get the Class 08 out first. Now there is a hole in the back there if you just want to just pop it out with your finger, but to be honest it's so small and so light that you don't really need to do that. So here it is, and obviously if it was brand new they would all be wrapped up in the typical Hornby cat shredded paper as well, but I've already taken that out. So this is the Class 08 by Hornby. Now at this point I must state that Hornby do make two Class 08s. They do a railroad version, which is a budget version, which this is, but they also do a premium. They also do a premium Class 08. So the Class 08 that you get in this set is the railroad version. It is the basic one, I'm afraid. The detail is basic. It's there, but it's nothing special. The locomotive's not that heavy, and the quality of the mechanism is, well, it's really basic. In fact, the chassis underneath I think is pretty much identical to the chassis in the Ginty there, even though the body on top is obviously very different. So bear in mind when you buy this set that the quality of the rolling stock inside it is not premium. It's not really high quality. But then, you know, you are getting track, you are getting two locomotives, and you are getting a DCC controller. So if the locomotives were premium, then the set would be quite expensive and probably out of most people's reach. So that's that's the economics for you. But let's get out the Ginty as well. Now, there's nothing wrong with it. It's a nice little locomotive. It's really hard to see because it's so black, but the detail is there. It's just basic. The mechanism is basic, but it's a nice little thing. It's not bad. It's a great entry set into the world of DCC, which is what you've got to see this set as. You know, it's not something you get for a 50 years in the making real hardcore model railway enthusiast, because they probably wouldn't appreciate it. But if there's somebody that's just getting into the hobby, or somebody that wants to get into DCC, then I really do recommend it. So yeah, that's the 3F Chinty. There's no sprung buffers. There is some riveting, but not very much. There's no cab detail. Although the mechanism is fine, they are pretty reliable. So that's something, isn't it? And, you know, it's pretty accurate. It's not perfect, but it looks like a Class 8, doesn't it? It doesn't look like a Class 40, or it doesn't look like an Apple. It looks like a Class 8 diesel locomotive, so it will satisfy most people's, you know, expectations. Moving on to the rolling stock, you get what is actually a really nice little goods wagon here. The coupling is sadly a gigantic tension lock coupling, which has been designed so that it will negotiate and go around really tight curves and tight layouts, which is a bit odd because they've put in third radius track, which is really nice and gentle, but I guess they're building in backward compatibility, aren't they? So people that have got really old sets or really small sets can still run all of these things. And then you've got a little BP wagon there. I don't know if that's accurate. I'm not an expert on rolling stock. It might be, or it might be slightly different to the real thing. But there's your BP tanker, so that's nice. It's a bit of variety. And obviously we all know about BP. Love them or hate them. And then you've got a little ore tipper. Well, no, it's not a tipper. It's just, I keep calling it an ore tipper. It's just an ore wagon. But I do love these because they're so cheap and so common. You can make up a rake of about 50 of these for like 10 quid. No, it does cost more than that. But they're a great wagon to make your first rake out of, maybe. If you just get loads and loads and loads and put like ballast in them or something. That looks really cool. And then we've got a little box fan to finish it off. The lid does come off with a little bit of gentle persuasion. Sadly, again, the tension locks are gigantic big tension locks, but you can take the lid off, you can put some weight in there, you can make it more heavy. And what is also quite important to note is that the wheels are now metal. You may be thinking, well, what are you on about? Well, I grew up in the 80s when most of this stuff was made in Britain still. It was made in the UK. And for as much as people appreciated that, the wheels were plastic then. You very rarely got metal wheels. So even though production is now in China, we are getting a slightly higher quality wagon for our buck, for our same amount of money. So yeah, there's not really much to talk about the track. It's just track. You know, look at my other videos for stuff on the track. It's third radius curves, points. What's really nice though is this DCC controller. As I say, it's the Hornby Select DCC controller. It's an excellent way to get into the hobby. You just plug in your track wires there, you plug in the power there, you switch it on, it comes on, it'll show 00 or I think it does display something initially, and then it defaults to number 3. You're free to then enter 06, enter, and then start controlling Loco 6. You can hold down select and it will program whatever's on that track to whatever number you wanted, so you can put 36, select, and it'll flash and then program the track. Because that's what it does, it programs tracks, it doesn't really program locomotives. So bear that in mind. If you've got 2 locomotives on the same track and you press 36 and enter, you'll be programming both of them. You can press function 1, function 2, switch the lights on, switch the lights off. These locos don't have any functions, basically just forwards and backwards, that's it. But on some more advanced, some more expensive locomotives, you can have lights, you can have sound, and then you've got your huge emergency stop button there, which you might think is a bit over the top, but it's not, trust me. there are occasions where you will need that. So that's that. I think what we need to do now is to put the locomotives onto the layout and see what they're like. I lied. I'm going to talk about the DCC controller first. So this is our DCC controller, and that's one I have already wired in. That's the one that basically came in the box. And as you can see, they're identical, they're the same thing. But this is one that I have fitted to the floor of this temporary layout in the conservatory. The other one I use for testing and stuff. So let's just switch it on. There we go, it said 11, then 30, and then 03. So that's its initial boot up phase basically. And then you might hear a sort of high-pitched whine, a sort of like a mobile phone charger type sound. And that's basically just the circuit, that's the track, that's the way DCC works, because it just fluctuates really, really rapidly. It's a constant 12 or 15 volts, I think, as opposed to a DC controller, which is variable up and down. The only thing with DCC is that locomotives listen out for signals, you see, but we'll come on to that later. So that's that plugged in. Now I need to wire it up. So here I am at the point where I put my wires into the track. Ignore these two. They're additional wiring that I have going off to another part of the layout. This is the cable just here. This is the cable we're interested in. And you'll notice that one of the cables has like a white, got a bit of dirt on me. You'll notice that one of the cables has a white strip along it, and the other cable's completely black. Now the way to always remember this, and I find that this helps, is a little saying I've come up with, a little mnemonic or whatever it's called. White is not right. So I'll say that again. White is not right. So the white one never goes on the right. So if we feed the cable through these pylons here, or well, we can do that after, that would be correct, because the white cable is not right. So from that point of view, this is the right pin and the white one is not right. So we put the left one in there, which is completely black, and we put the white one into the left socket. To us it's the right socket, okay? But on that side, if I was sat here on that side of the track, it would be the left socket. So again, white is not right, and I find that always helps. And if you remember that for your entire layout as you're wiring things up, and you use cable that's got white strips on it and you use black cable, then everything will be fine. Okay, so here we are at what is probably by now the most famous piece of skirting board in the world. And I'm going to put on my Class 8 locomotive first. Why not? So as soon as I put it on, I hear a slight buzzing, a slight humming, which is basically the constant 15 volts going into the motor, circulating around and going back out again. But nothing's happening, because the DCC chip that's factory fitted inside the locomotive is basically just listening. It's listening out for any signals that are sent along the track to tell it what to do. Now, its default number is 3. Practically every DCC chip or every DCC loco you buy is set to a default of 3. And that just so happens to be my favourite number as well, so that's quite good. The DCC controller is automatically defaulted to 3 as it's powered up, so it should start to move. It might have slightly dirty wheels, yes I think it has. Let's try again. There we go. And away she goes. Now I've increased the speed ever so slightly, but as you can see on the DCC controller, it's not set to very high at all. It's not even midday. But she's loving that. That's just right. And that's a fairly realistic speed as well, because the Class 8 in real life does not go very fast. Well, considering the value of this locomotive, considering it is just a basic railroad locomotive, it's not bad. It's not bad at all. As I say, it's lacking in bits of detail, and its performance, as you saw at the beginning of the video, isn't always fantastic. You need to keep the wheels clean, you need to keep the track clean. Just as he says, going past a ton of spilt coal all over the track. Don't worry, I've got the GWR and British Rail taffy tanks to clean that up, as I've been pointed out they are. Okay, I've taken the Class 8 off, and now I'm going to put on the Ginty. Just like that. So, it's going to probably be set to number 3 by default as well, but there's a problem, because the Class 8 is already number 3. So we need to give this one a new number, and whilst it's the only locomotive on the track, this is the perfect opportunity to give it a new number. Okay, so here we are at the DCC controller, and as you can see, it's still set to number 3, which is what we used for the Class 8. However, that's not going to be any good now, is it? So we need to give it a new number, and to do that, you hold down select for a little bit, the number will flash, you enter the number you want to give it, and then that's the number it will have. So let's give it the number 7. That's a nice odd number, it's a prime number. Why not give it number 7? So we just hold down select. There we go. It now flashes LA for local address. So I put in 07, press select. And you see the red light flashing just there? There we go. It's now sent a signal out to the track, reprogramming anything on that track to be number 7. So now our locomotive should respond to number 7. I'm back at the loco, and just to test that it should be number 7, I'm actually going to put in number 3. 03, select. Nothing happens. You want proof? Okay. Let's just budge you up a little bit and put the Class 8 on the back. It's still set to number 3. Whoa, moving. But the Ginty's not moving. However, if I select number 7, select, moving, and moving again. See, that is the glory of DCC. Right there, you've just seen what's so amazing about DCC. You can have multiple locos on one piece of track, and they will only listen to individual commands, which is just, well, it's just fantastic. Back in the 80s, the only way you could have done that was to basically have isolating sections at various points. I remember me and my dad wiring in different isolating sections with insulating fish plates and little levers that activated different segments. That still goes on, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I hope that you can see this is definitely superior. You can park up realistically. You can realistically park up loads of locos in one siding and control them individually. And that is the glory of DCC. And it doesn't stop there. You can tell the controller to put these into a consist. You can wire them into the same number so that they run at the same time. Now, the DCC Select controller does have an official way of doing that, but I'm not going to go into that just yet. In fact, I'm not going to go into that in this video. I'll do another video on that because DCC stuff is quite complex. But what I will do is I'll just program them onto the same number because they're the same chassis, they're the same motor. I wouldn't always recommend it. For example, this is a Class 20 just here, also by Hornby, but it's a different chassis, it's a different motor. So if you apply the same amount of throttle to these two, they will go at different speeds, and you'd have to be careful. You'd have to use an official way of forming them into the same consist in order to control them realistically. But because the motors of these two are the same, they're the same chassis, we can just program them on the same number and it'll be fine. For further details on forming consists and doing lots of fancy DCC stuff, watch my other DCC videos. So let's just couple them together. I shall do that manually. So let's just back up the Ginty. There we go. You can see the Ginty pushing the Class 8 and pulling the Class 8 while the Class 8 doesn't move at all. And now I will program them onto the same number. So I'll hold down select and I'm going to give them the number 9. Another prime number. I like my prime numbers. So there we go. You may have seen a little jerk basically as the DCC chip acknowledges the instruction. So there we go. They are now number 9 and they should both go at the same time, he says. And they do! Ah, fantastic. So both chips are now listening for the signal number 9. And as I turn the throttle, I am sending a signal down the track that says, hey, chip 9, accelerate backwards or accelerate forwards. They hear that signal and they pass the current to the motor. And it's as simple as that. So let's just drive them out of the way. And then put on some rolling stock. So I'll put it on in the order it is on the box. So I've got to put the boxcar first. Then I've got to put this ore wagon, just like that. I am learning. It's not an ore tipper. And then this little JL Davies & Co. And then the BP tanker on at the end. Okay, so there we go. They're all coupled up. Let's get our pair of locomotives to back onto them and then take them for a spin. So there we go. The 3F Ginty and the Class 8, which are both basic Hornby railroad models, are now coupled up to their rake of wagons, and I'm going to send them away around the layout. So there they both go, and doesn't that look cute? As they help each other out, pulling this tiny rake of just 4 wagons. But what you could do, if you had quite an advanced beginner's layout, is you could have 2 loops of track, you see, and you could have one locomotive taking the boxcar and the ore wagon, and you could have the other locomotive taking the tanker and the red wagon there, the JL Davies & Co. Let's make them go a bit faster. Okay, so I've given them a little bit more throttle, and they're probably going faster than the Class 8 would really go anyway, which is a little bit unrealistic. But we're just experimenting for now, we're just having fun, we're just running them as trains and seeing what their performance is like. So as we switch to Helicam, you can just see the mixed goods state trundling along there, or mixed freight as I think it's now called, where the locos have changed ever so slightly. There's my nice coal spill. So yeah, they're nice locomotives, they're not bad, they're not premium quality, and it's important to point that out. They're not as reliable and as finely detailed as some of the models you can get. But they're an excellent way to get into DCC, and for that reason, I do recommend them.